Welcome to my channel. I am Daisy, your hostess. Get ready to travel back in time as we listen to Lord Byron and how he cleverly invites us into a world of reason through his dramatic story titled Cain A Mystery. I came upon this work as a recommended reading by Dr. D.C. Hillman, who has a channel on YouTube called Lady Babylon. I suppose if you're looking for answers to the question of death, this is a good place to start as any. And perhaps I may not be wrong in saying that many of us humans at some point of our lives do question our very own mortality. Now let me preface that I am no academic scholar and I am not a theologist, which is what allows me to enter some of these books with a raw innocence layered by a common sense approach that comes from the scars of my life. It appears that Lord Byron's muse is trying to take us to the first written record of death, and he is using the Bible as that primary source from the chapter of Genesis. As an aside note, Sumerian cuneiform and Egyptian hieroglyphs are generally considered to be the earliest examples of true writing systems dating between 3400 and 3100 BC. The Uruk period saw the emergence of urban life in Mesopotamia and led to the full civilization of the early dynastic period. Uruk was by far the largest settlement with the most impressive buildings and the earliest evidence of writing, so it is recorded. I've added my resource links in the description of this video for your review. Make sure to check on them on your way out. It wasn't until 285 through 246 BC that the Septuagint was written, which is the fountain of Christianity in the Old Testament, which would be where the story of Cain and Abel would be. So that's a lot of years later, isn't it? That's the period when the ancient Greek civilization began its decline and the ancient Romans start to gain power. Did we get any stories of death from the Sumerians? Perhaps one of you great detectives can report back your findings. I found an interesting trivia. I'm from Florida, so in Florida, death registrations were not required by law until 1899, although some information exists going back to 1877. Okay, wait a minute. Lord Byron is getting anxious. So before we go into Cain, I dug up some tidbits on Byron to share with you. Born George Gordon Byron on January 22, 1788, the poet, one of the famous of the Romantics, was the only son of Captain Mad Jack Byron. How cool was that? Your dad being called Mad Jack. Yeah, Mad Jack is picking me up from school today. Anyways, his mother was Catherine Gordon, a Scottish heiress. Catherine relocated to Aberdeen with her infant son in 1789, where she was left to fend for herself after her husband's exile to avoid being jailed for debt. A true captain, right? Anyway, in 1798, at the age of 10, Byron inherited Newstead Abbey and the title Baron Byron of Rockdale upon his great-uncle's death. Byron attended Trinity College, Cambridge, and discovered his love for poetry and writing. He also later reminisced this time as the most romantic period of his life. It was during his time there that an intriguing incident happened. Upon being denied permission to bring his pet dog, Byron exploited a loophole in the university's regulations and arrived with a bear instead. His argument that there were no explicit provisions against the more unconventional pet prevailed, and he could be seen walking the grounds with the bear. At university, Byron took up a seat in the House of Lords, and then later he became somewhat restless and began a 2-year-long tour around Europe with his friend John Cam Hobhouse. It was on this trip that he fell particularly in love with Greece, a passion that would define the later period of his life. Byron had countless love affairs with both sexes throughout his life. Another of Byron's love affairs wrapped in scandal was with his married half-sister, Augusta Leigh. To recover his damaged reputation, Byron proposed to Annabella Milbanke, and they were married in 1815, and Annabella soon gave birth to a daughter named Augusta Ada. She would later become Ada Lovelace, the first computer programmer in history. I have the link so you can check it out. Byron's separation from Annabella was far from straightforward. She had accused him of incest, as well as homosexuality and heterosexual sodomy. The latter two were viewed to be illegal. So in response, Byron left England in 1816, and he would never return. But let me tell you, the salacious love affairs continued. I will leave that for your own research. Lord Byron is renowned for his contributions to the Romantic movement in literature, one of which is Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, which was about the reflections of a young man disillusioned with his life of pleasure, which I think was something about his own life, right? Anyway, and the other is the satirical epic Don Juan. In Cain A Mystery, we get to meet the rebel child, if rebel means anyone that questions the status quo. Cain here wants answers to questions, and Lucifer shows up to give him answers. Lucifer does have some witty comebacks that can have anyone's head spinning. Oh, I got hooked when Lucifer showed up and Cain said, "You can read my thoughts?" And Lucifer said, "'Tis your immortal part which speaks within you." And Cain asked, "What immortal part? This has not been revealed." And so Lucifer responds, "They have deceived thee. Thou shalt live." Oh, so literally yummy. But then again, Lucifer is said to be ruler of the air, right? And air is related to the mind, so be careful what you let in your mind. So in Cain A Mystery, the essence of this dramatic story is death. The first human death was a significant event. It marked the beginning of a new chapter in human history, a chapter in which death was a part of life. So sit back as we turn the page. Worthy of adding is a dedication from the author to Sir Walter Scott Bart. This mystery of Cain is inscribed by his obliged friend and faithful servant, the author. 1. On the 13th December 1821, Sir Walter received a copy of Cain, as yet unpublished, from Murray, who had been instructed to ask whether he had any objection to having the mystery dedicated to him. He replied in these words. Edinburgh, 4th December 1821. My dear sir, I accept with feelings of great obligation the flattering proposal of Lord Byron to prefix my name to the very grand and tremendous drama of Cain. I may be partial to it, and you will allow I have cause, but I do not know that this muse has ever taken so lofty a flight amid her former soarings. He has certainly matched Milton on his own ground. Some part of the language is bold, and may shock one class of readers, whose line will be adopted by others out of affection or envy. But then they must condemn the Paradise Lost, if they have a mind to be consistent. The fiend-like reasoning and bold blasphemy of the fiend and of his pupil led exactly to the point which was to be expected, the commission of the first murder, and the ruin and despair of the perpetrator. I do not see how anyone can cause the author himself of mechanisms. The devil talks the language of that sect, doubtless, because, not being able to deny the existence of the good principle, he endeavors to exalt himself, the evil principle, to a seeming equality with the good. But such arguments, in the mouth of such a thing, can only be used to deceive and to betray. Lord Byron might have made this more evident by placing in the mouth of Adam, or of some good and protecting spirit, the reasons which render the existence of moral evil consistent with the general benevolence of the deity. The great key to the mystery is, perhaps, the imperfection of our own faculties, which see and feel strongly the partial evils which press upon us, but know too little of the general system of the universe. to be aware how the existence of these is to be reconciled with the benevolence of the great Creator. To drop these speculations, you have much occasion for some mighty spirit like Lord Byron to come down and trouble the waters. For, excepting the John Bull, you seem stagnating strangely in London. Yours, my dear sir, very truly, Walter Scott. Preface. The following scenes are entitled A Mystery, in conformity with the ancient title annexed to dramas upon similar subjects, which were styled mysteries or moralities. The author has by no means taken the same liberties with his subject which were common formerly, as may be seen by any reader curious enough to refer to those very profane productions, whether in English, French, Italian, or Spanish. The author has endeavored to preserve the language adapted to his characters, and where it is, and this is but rarely, taken from actual scripture, he has made a little alteration even of words as the rhythm would permit. The reader will recollect that the book of Genesis does not state that Eve was tempted by a demon, but by the serpent, and that only because he was the most subtle of all the beasts of the field. Whatever interpretation the rabbis and the fathers may have put upon this, I take the words as I find them, and reply with Bishop Watson upon similar occasions, when the fathers were quoted to him as moderator in the schools of Cambridge. Behold the book, holding up the scripture. It is to be recollected that my present subject has nothing to do with the New Testament, to which no reference can be here made without anachronism. With the poems upon similar topics, I have not been recently familiar. Since I was 20, I have never read Milton, but I had read him so frequently before that this may make little difference. Gesner's Death of Abel I have never read since I was 8 years of age at Aberdeen. The general impression of my recollection is delight, but of the contents I remember only that Cain's wife was called Mahala, and Abel's Tirzah. In the following pages I have called them Ada and Zillah, the earliest female names which occur in Genesis. They were those of Lamech's wives. Those of Cain and Abel are not called by their names. Whether, then, a coincidence of subject may have caused the same expression, I know nothing and care as little. I am prepared to be accused of Manichaeism, or some other hard name ending in ism, which makes a formidable figure and awful sound in the eyes and ears of those who would be as much puzzled to explain the terms so bandied about as the liberal and pious indulgers in such epithets. Against such I can defend myself, or if necessary, I can attack in turn. Claw for claw, as Conan said to Satan, and the devil take the shortest nails. Quoted by Waverley. The reader will please to bear in mind, what few choose to recollect, that there is no allusion to a future state in any of the books of Moses, nor indeed in the Old Testament. For reason for this extraordinary omission, he may consult Warburton's Divine Legation. Whether satisfactory or not, no better has yet been assigned. I have therefore supposed it new to Cain, without, I hope, any perversion of Holy Writ. With regard to the language of Lucifer, it was difficult for me to make him talk like a clergyman upon the same subjects, but I have done what I could to restrain him within the bounds of spiritual politeness. If he disclaims having tempted Eve in the shape of the serpent, it is only because the book of Genesis has not the most distant allusion to anything of the kind, but merely to the serpent in his serpentine capacity. Note: the reader will perceive that the author has partly adopted in this poem the notion of Cuvier, that the world had been destroyed several times before the creation of man. This speculation, derived from the different strata and the bones of enormous and unknown animals found in them, is not contrary to the Mosaic account, but rather confirms it, as no human bones have yet been discovered in those strata, although those of many known animals are found near the remains of the unknown. The assertion of Lucifer that the pre-Adamite world was also peopled by rational beings much more intelligent than man are proportionably powerful to the mammoth, etc., etc., is of course a poetical fiction to help him to make out his case. I ought to add that there is a Tremologadia of Alfedi called Abel. I have never read that, nor any other of the posthumous works of the writer, except his life. End of preface. Cain A Mystery by Lord Byron. This is a dramatic play, and it has 3 acts in it. Act 1, Scene 1, Act 2, Scene 1 and Scene 2, and Act 3, Scene 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Lord God had made. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Dramatis personae. These are the characters of this dramatic play or story. The men are Adam, Cain, which is the first son, and Abel, their second son. Then there's the spirits, angel of the Lord, and Lucifer. And then there are the women, Eve, Ada, who's Cain's sister and wife, and Zillah, who's Abel's sister and wife. Act 1, Scene 1. The land without paradise. Time, sunrise. Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel, Ada, Zillah, offering a sacrifice. Adam. God the eternal, infinite, all-wise, who out of darkness on the deep did make light on the waters with a word. All hail! Jehovah, with returning light, all hail. Eve. God, who didst name the day, and separate morning from night, till then divided never, who didst divide the wave from wave, and call part of thy work the firmament. All hail. Abel. God, who didst call the elements into earth, ocean, air, and fire, and with the day and night, and worlds which these illuminate, or shadow madest being to enjoy them, and love both them and thee. All hail, all hail. Ada. God, the eternal parent of all things, who didst create these best and beauteous beings, to be beloved more than all. Save thee, let me love thee, and them. All hail, all hail. Zillah. O God, who loving, making, blessing all, yet didst permit the serpent to creep in, and drive my father forth from paradise. Keep us from further evil. Hail, all hail. Adam. Son Cain, my firstborn, wherefore art thou silent? Cain. What should I speak? Adam. To pray. Cain. Have you not prayed? Adam. We have most fervently. Cain. And loudly. I have heard you. Adam. So will God, I trust. Abel. Amen. Adam. But thou, my eldest born, art silent still? Cain. 'Tis better I should be so. Adam. Wherefore so? Cain. I have naught to ask. Adam. Nor aught to thank for? Cain. No. Adam. Dost thou not live? Cain. Must I not die? Eve. Alas, the fruit of our forbidden tree begins to fall. Adam. And we must gather it again. O God, why didst thou plant the tree of knowledge? Cain. And wherefore plucked ye not the tree of life? Ye might have then defied it. Adam. O my son, blaspheme not. These are serpent words. Cain. Why not? The snake spoke truth. It was the tree of knowledge. It was the tree of life. Knowledge is good, and life is good. And how can both be evil? Eve. My boy, thou speakest as I spoke in sin before thy birth. Let me not see renewed my misery in thine. I have repented. Let me not see my offspring fall into the snares beyond the walls of paradise, which even in paradise destroyed his parents. Content thee with what is. Had we been so, thou now hast been contented, O my son. Adam. Our horizons completed, let us hence, each to his tack of toil, not heavy, though needful. The earth is young, and yields us kindly her fruits with little labor. Eve. Cain, my son, behold thy father cheerful and resigned, and do as he doth. Exeunt Adam and Eve. Zillah. Wilt thou not, my brother? Abel. Why wilt thou wear this gloom upon thy brow, which can avail thee nothing, save to rouse the eternal anger? Ada. My beloved Cain, wilt thou frown even on me? Cain. No, Ada, no. I fain would be alone a little while. Abel. I'm sick at heart, but it will pass. Precede me, brother. I will follow shortly. And you too, sisters, tarry not behind. Your gentleness must not be harshly met. I'll follow you anon. Ada. If not, I will return to seek you here. Abel. The peace of God be on your spirit, brother. Exeunt Abel, Zillah, and Ada. Cain, Solus. And this is life? Toil! And where should I toil? Because my father could not keep his place in Eden? What had I done in this? I was unborn. I sought not to be born, nor love the state to which that birth has brought me. Why did he yield to the serpent and the woman? Or, yielding, why suffer? What was there in this? The tree was planted, and why not for him? If not, why place him near it, where it grew the fairest in the center? They have but one answer to all questions. 'Twas his will, and he is good. How know I that? Because he is all powerful. Must all good too follow? I judge but by the fruits, and they are bitter, which I must feed on for a fault not mine. Whom have we here? A shape like to the angels, yet of a sterner and sadder aspect of spiritual essence. Why do I quake? Why should I fear him more than other spirits, whom I see daily wave their fiery swords before the gates round which I linger oft, in twilight's hour, to catch a glimpse of those gardens which are my just inheritance, ere the night closes over the inhibited walls and the immortal trees which overtop the cherubim defended battlements? If I shrink not from these, the fire-armed angels, why should I quail from him who now approaches? Yet he seems mightier far than them, nor less beauteous, and yet not at all as beautiful as he hath been, and might be. Sorrow seems half of his immortality. And is it so? And can aught grieve save humanity? He cometh. Enter Lucifer. Lucifer. Mortal! Cain. Spirit, who art thou? Lucifer. Master of spirits. Cain. And being so, canst thou leave them and walk with dust? Lucifer. I know the thoughts of dust, and feel for it, and with you. Cain. How? You know my thoughts? Lucifer. They are the thoughts of all worthy of thought. 'Tis your immortal part which speaks within you. Cain. What immortal part? This has not been revealed. The tree of life was withheld from us by my father's folly, while that of knowledge by my mother's haste was plucked too soon, and all the fruit is death. Lucifer. They have deceived thee. Thou shalt live. Cain. I live, but live to die, and living see no thing to make death hateful, save an innate clinging, a loathsome and yet all invincible instinct of life, which I abhor, as I despise myself, yet cannot overcome, and so I live. Would I had never lived. Lucifer. Thou livest, and must live forever. Think not the earth, which is thine outward covering, is existence. It will cease, and thou wilt be no less than thou art now. Cain. No less? And why no more? Lucifer. It may be thou shalt be as we. Cain. And ye? Lucifer. Are everlasting. Cain. Are ye happy? Lucifer. We are mighty. Cain. Are ye happy? Lucifer. No. Art thou? Cain. How should I be so? Look on me. Lucifer. Poor clay, and thou pretendest to be wretched. Thou? Cain. I am. And thou, with all thy might, what art thou? Lucifer. One who aspired to be what made thee, and would not have made thee what thou art. Cain. Ah, thou looks almost a god, and? Lucifer. I am none, and having failed to be one, would be naught save what I am. He conquered, let him reign. Cain. Who? Lucifer. Thy sire's maker, and the earth's. Cain. And heavens, and all that in them is. So I have heard his seraphs sing, and so my father saith. Lucifer. They say what they must sing and say, on pain of being that which I am, and thou art, of spirits and of men. Cain. And what is that? Lucifer. Souls who dare use their immortality. Souls who dare look the omnipotent tyrant in his everlasting face and tell him that his evil is not good. If he has made, as he saith, which I know not nor believe, but if he made us, he cannot unmake. We are immortal. Nay, he'd have us so, that he may torture. Let him. He is great, but in his greatness is no happier than we in our conflict. Goodness would not make evil, and what else hath he made? But let him sit on his vast and solitary throne, creating worlds to make eternity less burdensome to his immense existence and unparticipated solitude. Let him crowd orb on orb, He is alone, indefinite, indissoluble tyrant. Could he but crush himself, 'twere the best boon he ever granted. But let him reign on, and multiply himself in misery. Spirits and men, at least we sympathize, and suffering in concert make our pangs innumerable, more endurable, by the unbounded sympathy of all with all. But he, so wretched in his height, so restless in his wretchedness, must still create and recreate. Perhaps he'll make one day a son unto himself, as he gave you a father. And if he so doth, mark me, that son will be a sacrifice. Cain. Thou speakest to me of things which long have swum in visions through my thought. I never could reconcile what I saw with what I heard. My father and my mother talked to me of serpents and of fruits and trees. I see the gates of what they call their paradise guarded by fiery sworded cherubim, which shut them out, and me. I feel the weight of daily toil and constant thought. I look around a world where I seem nothing, with thoughts which arise within me as if they could master all things. But I thought alone this misery was mine. My father is tamed down. My mother has forgot the mind which made her thirst for knowledge at the risk of an eternal curse. My brother is a watching shepherd boy who offers up the firstlings of flock to him who bids the earth yield nothing to us without sweat. My sister Zilla sings an earlier hymn than the birds' matins. And my Ada, my own and beloved, she too understands not the mind which overwhelms me. Never till now met I aught to sympathize with me. 'Tis well, I rather would consort with spirits. Lucifer. And hast thou not been fit by thine own soul for such companionship, I would not now have stood before thee as I am. A serpent had been enough to charm ye as before. Cain. Ah, didst thou tempt my mother? Lucifer. I tempt none, save with the truth. Was not the tree of knowledge? And was not the tree of life still fruitful? Did I bid her pluck them or not? Did I plant things prohibited within the reach of beings innocent and curious by their own innocence? I would have made ye gods, and even he who thrust ye forth, so thrust ye because ye should not eat the fruits of life, and become gods as we. Were those his words? Cain. They were, as I have heard from those who heard them, in thunder. Lucifer. Then who was the demon? He would not let ye live, or he would have made ye live forever in the joy and power of knowledge? Cain. Would they had snatched both the fruits, or neither? Lucifer. One is yours already. The other may be still. Cain. How so? Lucifer. By being yourselves in your resistance. Nothing can quench the mind, if the mind will be itself and center of surrounding things. 'Tis made to sway. Cain. But did thou tempt my parents? Lucifer. I? Poor clay! What should I tempt them for, or how? Cain. They say the serpent was a spirit. Lucifer. Who said that? It is not written so on high. The proud one will not so far falsify, though man's vast fears and little vanity would make him cast upon the spiritual nature his own low failing. The snake was the snake, no more, and yet not less than those he tempted. In nature being earth also, more in wisdom, since he could overcome them, and foreknew the knowledge fatal to their narrow joys. Think'st thou I take the shape of things that die? Cain. But the thing had a demon. Lucifer. He but woke one in those he spake to with his forky tongue. I tell thee that the serpent was no more than a mere serpent. Ask the cherubim who guard the tempting tree. 1,000 ages have rolled over your dead ashes, and your seeds, the seed of the then world, may thus array their earliest fault in fable, and attribute to me a shape I scorn, as I scorn all that bows to him who made things but to bend before his sullen soul eternity. But we, who see the truth, must speak it. Thy fond parents listened to a creeping thing and fell. For what should spirits tempt them? What was there to envy in the narrow bounds of paradise, that spirits who pervade space? But I speak to thee of what thou knowest not, with all thy tree of knowledge. Cain. But thou canst not speak aught of knowledge which I would not know, and do not thirst to know, and bear a mind to know. Lucifer. And heart to look on? Cain. Be it proved. Lucifer. Darest thou look on death? Cain. He has not yet been seen. Lucifer. He must be undergone. Cain. My father says he is something dreadful, and my mother weeps when he's named, and Abel lifts his eyes to heaven, and Zillah casts hers to the earth, and sighs a prayer, and Ada looks on me and speaks not. Lucifer. And thou? Cain. Thoughts unspeakable crowd in my breast to burning when I hear of this almighty death, who is, it seems, inevitable. Could I wrestle with him? I wrestled with the lion when a boy in play, till he ran roaring from my gripe. Lucifer. It has no shape, but will absorb all things that bear the form of earthborn being. Cain. Ah, I thought it was a being. Who could do such evil things to beings save a being? Lucifer. Ask the destroyer. Cain. Who? Lucifer. The maker. Call him, which name thou wilt. He makes but to destroy. Cain. I knew not that, yet thought it, since I heard of death. Although I know not what it is, yet it seems horrible. I have looked out in the vast desolate night in search of him, and when I saw gigantic shadows in the umbrage of the walls of Eden, checkered by the far flashing of the cherub swords, I watched for what I thought his coming. For with fear rose longing in my heart to know what 'twas which shook us all. But nothing came. And then I turned my weary eyes from off our native and forbidden paradise, up to the lights above us in the azure, which are so beautiful. Shall they too die? Lucifer. Perhaps, but long outlive both thine and thee. Cain. I'm glad of that. I would not have them die. They're so lovely. What is death? I fear, I feel, it is a dreadful thing. But what? I cannot compass. 'Tis denounced against us, both them who sinned and sinned not, as an ill. What ill? Lucifer. To be resolved into the earth. Cain. But shall I know it? Lucifer. As I know not death, I cannot answer. Cain. Were I quiet earth, that were no evil, would I never have been aught else but dust. Lucifer, that is a groveling wish, less than thy father's, for he wished to know. Cain, but not to live, or wherefore plucked he not the life tree? Lucifer, he was hindered. Cain, deadly error, not to snatch first that fruit, but ere he plucked the knowledge, he was ignorant of death. Alas, I scarcely now know what it is, and yet I fear it. I fear I know not what. Lucifer, and I, who know all things, fear nothing. See, what is true knowledge? Cain, wilt thou teach me all? Lucifer, upon one condition. Cain, name it. Lucifer, that thou dost fall down and worship me, thy Lord. Cain, thou art not the Lord my father worships. Lucifer, no. Cain, his equal? Lucifer, no, I have naught in common with him, nor would. I would be aught above, beneath, aught save a sharer or a servant of his power. I dwell apart, but I am great. Many there are who worship me, and more who shall. Be thou amongst the first. Cain, I never as yet have bowed unto my father's God, although my brother Abel oft implores that I would join with him in sacrifice. Why should I bow to thee? Lucifer, hast thou never bowed to him? Cain, have I not said it? Need I say it? Could not thy mighty knowledge teach thee that? Lucifer, he who bows not to him has bowed to me. Cain, but I will bend to neither. Lucifer, nevertheless, thou art my worshipper. Not worshipping him makes thee mine the same. Cain, and what is that? Lucifer, thou'lt know here and hereafter. Cain, let me but be taught the mystery of my being. Lucifer, follow where I will lead thee. Cain, but I must retire to till the earth, for I had promised. Lucifer, what? Cain, to cull some first fruits. Lucifer, why? Cain, to offer with Abel on an altar. Lucifer, said thou not thou never hast been to him who made thee? Cain, yes, but Abel's earnest prayer has wrought upon me. The offerings is more his than mine. And Ada? Lucifer, why dost thou hesitate? Cain, she is my sister, born on the same day, of the same womb, and she wrung from me with tears this promise, and rather than see her weep, I would, methinks, bear all, and worship aught. Lucifer, then follow me. Cain, I will. Enter Ada. Ada, my brother, I have come for thee. It is our hour of rest and joy, and we have less without thee. Thou hast labored not this morn, but I have done thy task. The fruits are ripe and glowing as the light which ripens. Come away. Cain, seest thou not? Ada, I see an angel. We have seen many. Will he share our hour of rest? He is welcome. Cain, but he is not like the angels we have seen. Ada, are there then others? But he is welcome as they were. They deigned to be our guest. Will he? Cain to Lucifer, wilt thou? Lucifer, I ask thee to be mine. Cain, I must away with him. Ada, and leave us? Cain, Ada, and me? Cain, beloved Ada. Ada, let me go with thee. Lucifer, no, she must not. Ada, who art thou that steppest between heart and heart? Cain, he is a god. Ada, how knowest thou? Cain, he speaks like a god. Ada, so did the serpent, and it lied. Lucifer, thou errest, Ada. Was not the tree that of knowledge? Ada, to our eternal sorrow. Lucifer, and yet that grief is knowledge, so he lied not. And if he did betray you, 'twas with truth, and truth in its own essence cannot be but good. Ada, but all we know of it has gathered evil on ill, expulsion from our home, and dread, and toil, and sweat, and heaviness, remorse of that which was, and hope of that which cometh not. Cain, walk not with this spirit. Bear with what we have borne, and love me. I love thee. Lucifer, more than thy mother and thy sire? Ada, I do. Is that a sin too? Lucifer, no, not yet. It one day will be in your children. Ada, what? Must not my daughter love her brother Enoch? Lucifer, not as thou lovest Cain. Ada, oh my God! Shall they not love and bring forth things that love out of their love? Have they not drawn their milk out of this bosom? Was not he, their father, born of the same soul womb, in the same hour with me? Did we not love each other, and in multiplying our being multiply things which will love each other as we love them? And as I love thee, my Cain, go not forth with this spirit. He is not of ours. Lucifer, the sin I speak of is not of my making, and cannot be a sin in you, whatever it seem in those who will replace ye in mortality. Ada, what is the sin which is not sin in itself? Can circumstance make sin a virtue? If it doth, we are the slaves of Lucifer. Higher things than ye are slaves, and higher than them, or ye would be so. Did they not prefer an independency of torture to the smooth agonies of adulation, in hymns and harpings and self-seeking prayers, to that which is omnipotent, because it is omnipotent, and not from love, but terror and self-hope? Ada, omnipotence must be all goodness. Lucifer, was it so in Eden? Ada, friend, tempt me not with beauty. Thou art fairer than was the serpent, and as false. Lucifer, as true. Ask Eve, your mother, bears she not the knowledge of good and evil? Ada, O my mother, thou hast plucked a fruit more fatal to thine offspring than to thyself. Thou, at the least, hast passed thy youth in paradise, in innocent and happy intercourse with happy spirits. But we, thy children, ignorant of Eden, are girt upon by demons, who assume the words of God, and tempt us with their own dissatisfied and curious thoughts, as thou wert worked on by the snake, in thy most flushed and heedless, harmless wantonness of bliss. I cannot answer this immortal thing which stands before me. I cannot abhor him. I look upon him with a pleasing fear, and yet I fly not from him. In his eye there is a fascinating attraction which fixes my fluttering eyes on his. My heart beats quick. He awes me, and yet draws me near, nearer and nearer. Cain, Cain, save me from him. Cain. What dreads my Ada? This is no ill spirit. Ada. He is not God, nor gods. I have beheld the cherubs and the seraphs. He looks not like them. Cain. But there are spirits loftier still, the archangels. Lucifer. And still loftier than the archangels. Ada. Ay, but not blessed. Lucifer. If the blessedness consists in slavery, no. Ada. I have heard it said the seraphs love most, cherubim know most, and this should be a cherub, since he loves not. Lucifer. And if the higher knowledge quenches love, what must he be you cannot love when known? Since the all-knowing cherubim love least, the seraphs' love can be but ignorance. That they are not compatible, the doom of thy fond parents for their daring proves. Choose betwixt love and knowledge, since there is no other choice. Your sire hath chosen already. His worship is but fear. Ada. O Cain, choose love. Cain. For thee, my Ada, I choose not. It was born with me, but I love naught else. Ada. Our parents? Cain. Did they love us when they snatched from the tree that which had driven us all from paradise? Ada. We were not born then, and if we had been, should we not love them and our children? Cain? Cain. My little Enoch and his lisping sister, could I but deem them happy, I would half forget, but it can never be forgotten through thrice 1,000 generations. Never shall men love the remembrance of the man who sowed the seed of evil and mankind in the same hour. They plucked the tree of science and sin, and, not content with their own sorrow, begot me, thee, and all the few that are, and all the unnumbered and innumerable multitudes, millions, myriads which may be, to inherit agonies accumulated by ages. And I must be sire of such things. Thy beauty and thy love, my love and joy, the rapturous moment and the placid hour, all we love in our children and each other, but lead them and ourselves through many years of sin and pain, or few, but still of sorrow, interchecked with an instant of brief pleasure, to death the unknown. Methinks the tree of knowledge hath not fulfilled its promise. If they sinned, at least they ought to have known all things that are of knowledge, and the mystery of death. What do they know? That they are miserable? What need of snakes and fruits to teach us that? Ada. I'm not wretched, Cain, and if thou wert happy... Cain. Be thou happy then, alone. I will have naught to do with happiness, which humbles me and mine. Ada. Alone I could not, nor would be happy. But with those around us I think I could be so, despite of death, which, as I know it not, I dread not, though it seems an awful shadow, if I may judge from what I have heard. Lucifer. And thou couldst not alone thou'st be happy? Ada. Alone? Oh my God! Who could be happy and alone, or good? To me my solitude seems sin, unless when I think how soon I shall see my brother, his brother, and our children, and our parents. Lucifer. Yet thy God is alone, and is he happy, lonely, and good? Ada. He is not so. He hath the angels and the mortals to make happy, and thus becomes so in diffusing joy. What else can joy be but the spreading joy? Lucifer. Ask of your sire, the exile fresh from Eden, or of his firstborn son? Ask your own heart. It is not tranquil. Ada. Alas, no, and you? Are you of heaven? Lucifer. If I am not, inquire the cause of this all-spreading happiness, which you proclaim, of the all-great and good maker of life and living things. It is his secret, and he keeps it. We must bear, and some of us resist, and both in vain. His seraphs say, "Oh, but it's worth the trial, since better may not be without. There is a wisdom in the spirit, which directs to right, as in the dim blue air the eye of you, young mortals, lights at once upon the star which watches, welcoming the morn." Ada. It is a beautiful star. I love it for its beauty. Lucifer. And why not adore? Ada. Our Father adores the invisible only. Lucifer. But the symbols of the invisible are the loveliest of what is visible, and yon bright star is leader of the host of heaven. Ada. Our Father said that he has beheld the God himself who made him and our mother. Lucifer. Hast thou seen him? Ada. Yes, in his works. Lucifer. But in his being? Ada. No, save in my Father, who is God's own image, or in his angels, who are like to thee, and brighter, yet less beautiful and powerful in seeming, as the silent sunny noon. All light, they look upon us, but thou seemest like an ethereal night, where long white clouds streak the deep purple, and unnumbered stars spangle the wonderful mysterious vault, with things that look as if they would be suns. So beautiful, unnumbered, and endearing, not dazzling, and yet drawing us to them. They fill my eyes with tears, and so dost thou. Thou seemst unhappy. Do not make us so, and I will weep for thee. Lucifer. Alas, those tears! Couldst thou but know what oceans will be shed? Ada. By me? Lucifer. By all. Ada. What all? Lucifer. The million millions, the myriad myriads, the all-peopled earth, the unpeopled earth, and the overpeopled hell, of which thy bosom is the germ. Ada. O Cain, this spirit curseth us. Cain. Let him say on. Him will I follow. Ada. Whither? Lucifer. To a place whence he shall come back to thee in an hour, but in that hour see things of many days. Ada. How can that be? Lucifer. Did not your Maker make out of old worlds this new one in few days? And cannot I, who aided in this work, show in an hour what he hath made in many, or hath destroyed in few? Cain. Lead on. Ada. Will he in sooth return within an hour? Lucifer. He shall. With us acts are exempt from time, and we can crowd eternity into an hour, or stretch an hour into eternity. We breathe not by a mortal measurement, but that's a mystery. Cain, come on with me. Ada. Will he return? Lucifer. Ay, woman, he alone of mortals from that place, the first and last who shall return, save one, shall come back to thee, to make that silent and expectant world as populous as this. At present there are few inhabitants. Ada. Where dwellest thou? Lucifer. Throughout all space. Where should I dwell? Where are thy God or gods, there am I. All things are divided with me, life and death, and time, eternity and heaven and earth. And that which is not heaven nor earth, but peopled with those who once peopled or shall people both, these are my realms. So that I do divide his, and possess a kingdom which is not his. If I were not that which I have said, could I stand here? His angels are within your vision. Ada. So they were when the fair serpent spoke with our mother first. Lucifer. Cain, thou hast heard, if thou dost long for knowledge, I can satiate that thirst, nor ask thee to partake of fruits which shall deprive thee of a single good the conqueror has left thee. Follow me. Cain. Spirit, I have said it. Exeunt Lucifer and Cain. Ada follows exclaiming, Cain, my brother, Cain! End of Act 1, Scene 1. If you haven't done so, hit that like button. I would really love your comments on this. Have you read Lord Byron? I'll be at the next video with Lord Byron's Cain, Act 2.